Have you or do you know anyone who's ever had flaky scalp, constant itching, felt embarrassed to wear dark clothes, all because of dandruff?
There is several factors that can actually contribute to dandruff. Most common is actually the right treatment and lifestyle. You can actually tackle dandruff.
Welcome to Consultation Room Podcast. In this episode, we're going to cover what dandruff actually is, the common causes, and hint, it's not just dry skin, and the best ways to treat and prevent it. So stay tuned. So to begin, Trudy, what is dandruff?
Okay, so dandruff is actually a very common scalp condition. It affects millions of people worldwide. Okay, so if you suffer from dandruff, it's not embarrassing. Do not be embarrassed. It can be embarrassing and uncomfortable, but it's not a serious health concern. So that is the good news.
Yeah.
And also another good news is that dandruff has treatment. So there is ways that we can treat dandruff. Now, what exactly is dandruff? Dandruff is actually a condition where small white or yellow flakes of dead skin cells shed from the scalp. These flakes can be visible on clothing and can also cause itching and irritation, and it is more common in adults. So approximately 50% of adults worldwide actually suffer from dandruff. So it is a very, very common condition. Now, there is other sort of symptoms that come with dandruff. Steph, what are these symptoms? In case someone is wondering, is it just, okay, we've said yellow flaky skin. What else is there?
Okay, so we've mentioned some of it already, like the itchy, the flakiness, but there are some other symptoms as Trudy mentioned. The main symptoms of dandruff does include the skin flakes and an itchy, scaly scalp. But sometimes there are oily flakes as well. Typically, it usually accumulates in your hair and shoulders and often get worse during like autumn and winter times when the air is dry. But symptoms may be severe in some people. And if you're stressed and tend to, flare, it actually tends to flare up during these times when you're stressed and during like cold and dry seasons. But yes, so let's go through the symptoms as we mentioned. The symptoms can include oily flakes, itching, irritated patches on the skin of the scalp, and sometimes on the face. You may also have like eyebrow dandruff. And sometimes some people do actually end up getting hair loss. This usually comes from like the breakages you get from like scratching your hair so much. So that's when it usually leads to hair loss. And of course, you get dry flakes on the skin of the face. So these are like the main symptoms. Of course, there may be other stuff, but these are the main symptoms I will put for dandruff. And these symptoms are brought upon by different things. It could be caused by, it could be caused by dry skin, but as I said, there are more to it. So Trudy, do you mind just going through the causes for it?
Of course.
Yes.
You did mention something, and I think I should just add to that. You did mention that you can also get eyebrow dandruff.
Yes.
But also, some people get armpit dandruff or even dandruff in the groin area. So again, these are areas, if you think about it, these are areas where there's hair. So just bearing that in mind. Now, when it comes to the causes of dandruff, there is several factors that can actually contribute to dandruff. Most common is actually excessive oil production on the scalp. So when there is excessive oil production on the scalp, fungus does thrive in this kind of environment. And basically what the fungus does is it will feed on sort of the oil and the dead cells on the scalp. So this is one of the causes. So if you have excessive oil, if you know that you have normally oily skin, oily scalp, you might suffer from dandruff. So if you're wondering where that is coming from, it's probably because of this. Another cause of dandruff would be irregular shampooing and poor hygiene. So I know that sometimes people use dandruff as an excuse where, let's be honest, sometimes at work, someone can come in, let's say, it's a black outfit or a dark outfit that they wear at work. And maybe when that is mentioned, they say, look, it's just a condition I have. But it could also mean, it is a condition that can be caused by other things, but it could also mean that maybe poor hygiene is what is causing dandruff. So basically, poor hygiene, if you're not shampooing your hair, your scalp enough, and maybe you're not washing well enough, there can be buildup of oil and also just build up of the yeast, which of course will cause dandruff. Another cause, and I think you've mentioned this one, Steph, is stress. So stress is actually also another major cause of dandruff.
Yes.
So what happens is when you're stressed, the body actually produces excessive oil, and this can actually exacerbate the condition. So if you notice that maybe during certain periods of just your everyday life, so maybe during certain months, you have dandruff more than others, it could mean that maybe during this time you are stressed. I know for sure a lot of people are stressed sort of around December and January, this Christmas stress. And then in January, you have to send your HMRC forms and, you have to chase up your accountants. You might notice that during this time you experience worse or excessive dandruff. It could mean that maybe the stress is causing this. And last but not least, cold and dry weather, which is something you've also mentioned, Steph. This can actually cause worsening of dandruff. So when it's cold or when the weather is quite dry, it can actually cause dryness in the scalp as well, and sort of like cause an itchy scalp. And when you're itching the scalp, as you've said, that kind of just worsens the dryness, and that causes worsening of dandruff. So these are some of the common causes of dandruff. Bearing in mind that actually hot and humid weathers or conditions can actually also cause dandruff, because this is a very good environment for the fungus to thrive. So basically, two extreme conditions can actually cause excessive dandruff. So if it's very hot and humid, or if it's very cold and dry.
That's right.
Now,
that's right.
I'm sure there's more than one type of fungus, of dandruff, sorry. There is several different types of fungus. Do you mind just talking through some of these? I mean, there's probably just two.
Okay, before we move on to that, I actually wanted to add on to the cause. You did mention something about shampooing,
Yeah.
And actually wanted to add that sometimes as well, the dandruff can be caused by like two ways. Either not shampooing enough, which may cause like the skin cells to accumulate and create flakes and itchy, like you said. And then shampooing too frequently as well, which can over dry the scalp and can create like the friction with the sensitive skin on the scalp. But also sometimes the ingredients in the shampoo, you can't react with them with them, and that can actually also lead to like dandruff. So it kind of goes in both ways. So when it comes to dandruff, it is caused by a yeast called Malassezia. And that's what causes the dandruff. In terms of like the types, so sometimes you may end up with like mild dandruff, which as it says, it is mild, or it could be severe. And yes, it could be severe. And when it is severe, sometimes you may notice that it is caused by other maybe skin conditions. So such as like the one that is usually common is the seborrheic dermatitis. That's what is normally related to dandruff, but there are other skin conditions such as like the likes of eczema, psoriasis, Basically, yeah, different skin conditions can amount to dandruff, but the
Yeah.
main one is the seborrheic dermatitis. Yeah. But is there any other type that I haven't mentioned?
I think no, I think that's it.
Yeah.
What I like to do when patients will ask me about sort of what kind of dandruff they could be having is I like to just sort of like class them into two, which is sort of like dry and oily,
Mm,
because that's easier for them to understand. Because they will come and say, I have just flakes falling off my scalp. I'm not sure what is going on, and I
mm,
say, well, is it like sort of like a oily dandruff, or is it a dry dandruff? And the reason I say that is sometimes you can differentiate the two and you'll be able to know what treatment is best. So with dry dandruff, for instance, it's white, small white flakes, whereas with
mm.
the oily one, it's large yellow flakes. Because again, oil build up,
Built
it would
up.
be
Yeah.
they will be quite large.
Yeah.
And then what happens with dry dandruff is it's dry and itchy, as the name suggests, whereas with the oily one is actually greasy and also can be accompanied by redness and pimples. This is all to do with dermatitis. As you said, seborrheic
Mm,
dermatitis can also be a condition that is maybe related to dandruff. So this could be part of sort of like the oily dandruff.
mm.
And also with the dry dandruff, it is worse in cold, dry weather, whereas the oily dandruff is actually worsened by some of the things you mentioned, Steph, actually, which is sort of the hash product,
Yeah.
poor hygiene, and also if there's maybe hot and humid environment, this can actually
Mm.
cause hot, oily dandruff. But no, I think you have also just sort of classed them in the two types that there is, basically. So there is the one that's caused by fungus, and then there is just the one that can actually be related to other conditions, and it can present as oily or
Yeah.
dry.
Okay, brilliant. And when it comes to the dandruff, is there like any particular person that can it affect, or are there risk factors to it?
I think dandruff can affect actually anyone.
Yes.
As I said before, mostly adults will get dandruff. Now,
Mm,
children get dry skin conditions, but it is called something else and something different. And we will probably talk about it in one of the episodes. But mainly, anyone can have dandruff. But there is certain groups of people that might be prone to more dandruff than other
mm,
people. So genetically, they say if, say, someone in your family has got dandruff,
mm.
you are more likely to have dandruff. So if, say, your father or your mother suffers from dandruff, or your grandparents suffer from dandruff, you are also likely to suffer from dandruff. And
Yes.
also certain conditions, so any neurological conditions, so the likes of Parkinson's disease, or if, say, maybe you have a major brain injury, something like that can actually cause dandruff, or can cause worsening of dandruff. Also, some autoimmune conditions can actually cause dandruff. So, if you have maybe autoimmune conditions or skin conditions that are sort of even neurological, you could actually be at a higher risk of developing dandruff, or there's a higher likelihood of you developing dandruff.
Yes.
And they
Yes.
also say that if you are assigned male as your gender during birth, you are likely to get dandruff than, say, someone who is assigned female at birth.
Mm.
So basically, men are likely to have dandruff more than women. And we see
Yes.
this, So sometimes when you're like, oh, he's so dirty, no, it could be just because, he is part of that group that, they are likely to get
Okay.
dandruff.
Yeah.
And also, I think, as we've said, climate it plays a big role. So
Yes.
people in maybe very cold and dry climates, so
Mm.
especially, say, in the winter, you might find
Yeah.
that, I'm just going to speak about the UK. So in the UK in the winter, you might
Yeah.
find that people will have more dandruff than,
Yeah.
say, any other time or any other
Yeah.
seasons, or maybe other parts of the world. Whereas maybe if someone is from a very hot and humid climate, they're also at risk of excessive fungal growth. Therefore, their risk of also having dandruff.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if there's any groups I have missed, Steph, or any sort of like classes of people that are likely to have dandruff that I have missed.
No, you've basically hit the nail right there. So age, gender, and neurological like diseases and weakened immune system, which you already said. Yeah, that's
Okay,
that's really it.
perfect,
Yeah.
perfect. I'm glad.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Steph, you
Yeah.
like your home remedies.
Yes.
You do like your home remedies.
I do. Yes.
So, and also, I need to ask you a question. Have you ever suffered from dandruff?
No, but I haven't. Have I? No, I don't think so. Maybe when I was young and I don't know it, but in my adult life, I don't think I have.
Okay,
Um, but I do know someone who has, and I have like advised them as to what to do.
okay, because
So,
I have, and there's things I've done
okay. Okay.
before I go to sort of like their over-the-counter treatment,
Yeah.
because I mean, I am not like I'm not a champion, for home remedies, because I like a quick fix, okay?
Yeah, yeah,
I like to just
yeah.
listen. I know this works. Give me what I know works. But
Yeah.
sometimes when it comes to, say, the skin and the scalp, there is things, and I suppose maybe just as being maybe African, being in
Yeah.
African household, there's things that your mom will say, why don't you do this and this? Why
Yes.
don't you do this and this? Before you go
Yes.
to get that shampoo or whatever
That's
from the
right.
pharmacy, there's things that we grow up knowing that we
Yep.
could try and it would
That's
help.
right. Yeah.
So you haven't suffered from dandruff, but what
But
is an advice when it
mhm.
comes to home remedies that you might have given someone?
Yeah, so as you said, in like an African household, there's always like some sort of like remedy there. Yes. So
Yes.
you're that is definitely right. So what I normally advise, even like my cousins or in-laws or anything, I usually just say, if it is dry, like you mentioned, if you have like the dry type of dandruff, I normally
Yeah.
say oil up, basically. So
Mm-hmm.
either what I normally say, tea tree oil or coconut oil or even shea
Mm-hmm.
butter, it tends to help. And they have testified that yes, it does help. And
Shea butter. Of course there has to be shea butter there. What Ghanaian would
of
say no
course,
shea butter?
of course, yes, they help so much. These are the oils I would actually go with.
Mm-hmm.
There was actually something that I came across like some years back here, but they said cider vinegar also helps.
Yes.
Like,
I've
oh,
tried
you
that.
have heard of it? Okay, I've never tried, but
I
I
have
remember.
tried that.
Okay, I see.
Mm-hmm.
So my cousin like did the supper with like dandruff, and I was trying to help them, and when we researched, it was like one of the things. I was like, oh, cider vinegar, I wouldn't want that in my hair, but it actually kind of worked.
No,
According to my
listen,
cousin.
like I won't lie, I have tried it
Yeah.
and it
Oh,
actually does
okay.
work. What I do
Oh,
is I basically mix
yeah,
equal parts of apple cider vinegar with water,
yeah.
and I just sort of
Okay.
like leave it on my hair. And
Yeah,
literally, honestly, I think there's antimicrobial properties in apple cider vinegar,
yeah,
and that's why some people drink it as well, to just
yeah.
for that cleanse and all of that. But
I
honestly,
see.
it did help my scalp. So that I
Wow.
can attest to that. It does work.
Okay. Then you can.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. I'm
Once
I'm not gonna
once to
say too
twice a
much from
week,
that.
guys, and listen, dandruff where?
I see. Okay, that's good to know. That's good to know. I think there was one that I also came across, which that one I'm not too sure. I don't know if you've tried that, like baking soda. Have you heard of that?
I've heard of that, but I've not tried it because I think I
Yeah, I've
already know
tried it.
something that works for me, so I go with what works for me. But
Yeah,
I have definitely heard people who've
yeah.
used baking soda.
But I think that is more for like the oily dandruff. That's
Because
what
it
I
can be
can
quite
think of.
drying. If you think
Exactly.
about baking
Yeah.
soda, you know, it can be quite
Yeah.
dry. It is an exfoliant,
Exactly.
baking soda. So
Yes. Yes.
It
Yes.
can be,
So,
yes. I think oily scalp, yes.
yeah, yeah. So these are like the main home remedies I would say, but you've already said it. So basically exfoliating like your scalp, which is
Mm-hmm.
key. So a gentle scalp scrub or even like a
Mm-hmm.
brush can remove like the buildup. And of
Mm-hmm.
course, like we said, if you're not washing your hair regularly, that could also lead to it.
Yes.
So wash your hair regularly, please. But
Mm-hmm.
obviously not too much where it leads to
Yes.
the other side where it's dry. So maybe aim
Mm-hmm.
for like 2 to 3 times a week,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, I would say two
Yeah,
to
I
three
mean, to
times a
be fair, it
week.
depends with
Yeah.
what kind of, I would say it depends with
Hair
what
you
kind of
have.
scalp you have. So if you
Yeah.
have a very, say, a very oily scalp, you might want to
Mm.
maybe wash that a little bit more frequent. And then if your scalp
Yeah.
is very dry, you might want to
Mm.
maybe not shampoo your
Oh,
scalp very, very
yes.
often. And then what
Mm.
you might want to do is maybe use a very good moisturizing conditioner after that,
That's
just to
right.
keep the scalp
Yes.
moisturized. So I think
Yes.
depending with your scalp, because some people have
That's right.
very dry scalp, and there's people who've
Yeah.
got very oily scalp that they have to wash their scalp almost every day,
Yeah. Every
basically.
day. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing I would say, because sometimes, dandruff can actually be caused by like your diet. So I
Mm,
sometimes say maybe eat a healthy diet, something that contains omega-3 or zinc
that's
or
it.
probiotics. They help promote like a
Mm,
healthy scalp. So that could
mm,
also help. And
yeah,
lastly, like we did say, stress is like a cause for it. So just manage your stress, reduce your stress, and
that's it.
hopefully that should help. Yeah. And if it is also caused by excessive oil, obviously do reduce the amount of oil you are using. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
mentioned something, and it's something I've actually used before, and it helps
Yeah.
me.
Which
So
one?
I love coconut oil. Okay, I use coconut oil for
Okay.
a lot of things. I use coconut oil to
Mm.
cook. I use it on my skin sometimes. I use it on my hair.
Okay.
But what I
Yeah.
do, especially when I've noticed, and I tell you what, last summer or 2 summers
Mm.
ago, actually, I noticed that my scalp, no, it was last summer actually. I noticed that my
Yeah.
scalp was actually very, very, very dry to a point of,
Oh,
like I was having sort of the yellow flakes, which meant that maybe I was producing a
okay.
lot more oil, or
Yeah.
maybe something was just not, there was something that was not balanced. And I
Mm.
remember I was scratching so much that I was actually bleeding. So
Oh
what I started
dear.
doing, yeah, exactly. And I was like, okay, no, I'm not gonna go for, the shampoos and all of that. What I'm gonna do is
Mm.
I'm gonna use my home remedies. So I would actually make some coconut oil with some drops of
Mm.
tea tree oil, and those two you've mentioned, and I would actually
Yeah.
massage it onto my scalp before shampooing.
Oh, okay.
So I'd massage it onto my
Yeah.
scalp, and then I'd leave it for like 15-20 minutes, and then I'd just wash it
Mm.
off, like shampoo it, and then just use my other conditioner. And honestly, I won't lie, like my scalp now,
It
you
worked.
could you could eat from my scalp, okay? It's nice and clean.
Yeah, right.
So that is one thing I know really, really worked for me.
Okay.
And I've tried, as I said, apple
Yeah.
cider vinegar. So I'm glad you mentioned that
Mm.
one, because I have tried it, and I
I
can listen,
see.
it works. Yes.
Okay,
Another
that's good to
an-
know.
Another thing though is
Mm.
you haven't mentioned, but I'm sure as soon as I mention, you'll be like, mm-hmm,
Mm.
yes, you're right. Which is aloe vera.
Oh
So
yes.
how, girl,
What
there
am
you
I?
go. There
I
you
even
go.
use it myself. Like, I don't have dandruff yet, but it's part of like
Mm-hmm.
my hair routine.
Hair
I use
care.
aloe
Yeah.
vera. Yeah.
Yes. It's
Yes.
aloe vera is very soothing, especially if you have
It
itchy,
is.
irritated scalp. Use aloe
Yes.
vera on your scalp. Especially if it's
Yes.
fresh aloe vera, like you literally cut
Oh,
the plant into half and you just slurry on
yes.
your hair and you massage it. And of course, if you can't get the fresh one, by all means, the other one is fine. You massage it into your scalp. That I know. I
Yeah.
don't use that for my dry scalp, but whenever, like, I think maybe a few times in a year, whenever I'm
Mm.
going for that deep cleanse, I do that as
Mm.
well. And I massage it, and I put my like my head in a one of the shower cups, and I steam
Yeah.
it, and it just sort of takes in from the aloe vera, because aloe vera is supposed to be very soothing, very strengthening,
It
and that
is.
actually
Yeah.
really, really helps.
Helps.
And another
Yeah.
thing I've heard but I've not used, the same way we haven't both
Mm.
used baking soda, is lemon juice. Have you
Oh
ever heard
yeah,
of that?
I've heard of
People
that
have,
as well, but I haven't used it.
yeah,
Yeah,
I haven't
yeah,
used
I've heard
it,
of that.
but
Mm.
again, if you think about lemon juice, it is actually something.
Acidic, it
I mean,
might
the
be.
way lemon juice is, it's yeah, because it balances the pH, isn't it? Because it's like
Yes.
acidic, so it can balance the pH. So if maybe what is happening is there's that imbalance of pH, maybe lemon juice is what you need.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah, you can add
Yes.
it again
Yeah.
in the oils, massage it, and then just shampoo it off.
Yeah.
So, some of these things they can, and I'm sure they do work.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
interesting,
brilliant.
eh?
Brilliant. Yeah. So these are home remedies. Like I love home remedies,
Yes.
so I'm glad we went through it. So what if someone has tried their home remedies and it's still not working? What do they
Okay.
do? Who do they come
We
to?
this is where we come in. This is where we pharmacists come
Exactly.
in. Okay. So listen,
Yes.
not everyone in pharmacy will give you this home remedy advice,
Mm.
but we always go for some home remedies. But if
Yes.
you've tried that and it's not worked, there is some things you can buy in pharmacy. So there is a lot of
Yes.
anti-dandruff shampoos that are now available for you to even buy over the counter in pharmacies, but they're also available on prescriptions. Okay.
Mm.
So there is shampoos that have got ketoconazole, which is quite common in both. They can buy over the counter, and you can also get on prescription. It is an antifungal shampoo. So again, because
Yes.
it's that fungus that we're trying to sort of like get rid of, or we're trying to
Mm.
reduce the likelihood of it sort of thriving this environment, this shampoo could help
Yes.
in that kind of condition. There's also shampoos that have got salicylic acid. And again, we know that these are things that will actually help balance pH, as well as sort of like get rid of anything excess. So the excess sebum,
Yeah.
excess oiliness, all of this can actually help with that. And then there's others that have got coal tar. And do you know what? I have to be honest here. I absolutely love the smell of coal tar shampoo.
Really?
To a point of, and I'm weird like that because no one else loves the smell of it. I know.
Oh
To a point of,
dear.
sometimes in pharmacy when I'm dispensing it, I just go, it's nice.
Oh
Okay.
gosh.
I do like the smell of it, and I do use it actually. I use
You're
coal
on
tar
your own.
shampoo. I know. So coal tar shampoo is actually quite good for dandruff. It comes as one of the medicated shampoos that you can buy over the
Yes.
counter in the pharmacy, but also you can get prescriptions for in the UK.
Yes.
And then there is also shampoos that have got selenium sulfide, which again
Yes.
would help with dandruff. So these are some of the ingredients that might be in some of the anti-dandruff shampoos. And basically, in all of these shampoos, there is the ingredients that will actually help slow down production or growth of yeast, which can, of course, as we said, can cause dandruff. And of course, when it comes to any medication, because this is still seen as medication, always use the medication or the shampoo according to the instruction given to you by either the pharmacist or the doctor. That is very, very important. Now, if you have some of the dermatitis conditions, so if it's contact dermatitis or seborrheic dermatitis, you might notice that maybe there's a bit of inflammation. And what the doctors might actually give you is topical steroids. So topical steroids are some of the treatments that you can get for some of the inflammatory conditions that's affecting the scalp that can actually worsen or cause dandruff. And last is this zinc pyrithium, and this is often found in the anti-dandruff shampoos, but again, it slows down the production of the fungus, which we talked about. So these are some of the common over-the-counter dandruff shampoos or treatments that you can get, in pharmacy. But again, you can also get this on a prescription. Is there any that I might have missed, Steph? Is there any that maybe you've come across that we haven't spoken about?
No, that was everything right there.
Perfect.
Yeah, these are what you would find. Yeah. Yep. Brilliant.
That's good.
Yes.
Well, I know you've just very briefly talked about some preventative measures. So when it comes to, say, dandruff, what is just like in a sort of like routine format or strategized format, what would you say to someone who maybe suffers from dandruff? How could they treat it, or how could they manage it, and how could they prevent it?
Yeah. So, I would say just check what kind of scalp you have. That is the main thing. So once you know what kind of scalp, if it is dry, watch the sort of like things you put in your hair, the sort of products you put in there. Anything that's gonna make your hair a bit more drying, please stay away from that. If you have the other one where your hair is oily, you get more oily dandruff, maybe you might want to reduce the amount of oil you're using, or the amount of oil in certain products. So that those are the main things. Basically, check what kind of scalp you have and check the ingredients you're putting into your hair. The other thing is wash your hair regularly, as we've already mentioned. Also, reduce the stress you're in. If it is due to also some climate changes, just take care of your hair during these during these seasons. You know, if it is during hot and humid season, the moisture is going to be stripped away. So just maybe apply more oil if you need to. If it is during winter time, it may be more dry, so you may have to apply more oil. So just watch the seasons and what to do. Also, we did say there are sometimes it is due to diet as well. So if you need to incorporate more things into your diet, eating healthily, taking the minerals and vitamins that you need to just to keep a healthy scalp, that is important. I would also say exfoliate as you need to and ask for that help. If you feel you keep getting recurring like dandruff and stuff, maybe it may be worth just speaking to a professional like a dermatologist or even your
Yeah.
pharmacist so that they will advise you as to what to do. Yeah, but these are the main things I would say to do. Just watch what is triggering it and then avoid it, basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything you would want to add?
I think the only other thing I would say, and it's something that I should really apply to my own lifestyle as well, is avoiding hot showers. Because as we have spoken about sort of like skin conditions before, is hot showers, as you said, strip off the oil from the scalp and from the body.
Mm,
So if you're taking hot showers every day, and maybe you're washing your hair, even if you're not using shampoos and conditioners, but there's hot water on your scalp, is stripping that natural oil, and that could dry your
yeah.
scalp. But also, we I can only speak, from my own experience, but I know for sure that just growing up, we used to gel our hair quite a lot. Used to
Mm.
do that slick
Slick.
back bun and, all of that, like the
Yeah.
slick hairstyles, yeah. And we
Mm.
use a lot of gel when it comes to that. And what happens is gel can actually dry the scalp. So
Yes.
sometimes using excessive styling products is actually not beneficial to your scalp.
Mm.
And it could be the cause of your dry scalp conditions. So just watching maybe just your lifestyle, what it is that you're doing in excess that
Yes.
maybe you could just minimize a
Strip
little
back. Yeah.
bit. So basically just doing your scalp a favor by not doing anything in excess. That's what I would say.
Mm. Fantastic. Fantastic. Is there anything else to add to treatment and preventatives?
I think we've mentioned everything. I think everything,
Okay.
especially that is available in pharmacy. We've talked
Mm.
about both home remedies, and we've
Yeah.
also talked about over-the-counter treatments. But of course, if there's anything else we haven't mentioned and we come across it, we'll always add that
Yes.
to our Instagram, to our YouTube. So keep a lookout. Even after you've watched the episode, just go back. We'll always add material if there's anything that maybe we've not spoken about. But again, if this becomes a topic that we feel like maybe we should talk about again, I think we can always do another episode on
Yeah.
dandruff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Brilliant. Let's just go through a few of like the myths and misinformation out there about dandruffs.
Mm-hmm.
Um, To start off, I think the first one I had on here is dandruff is contagious, and I actually wanted to tell you like a little, just a little story. Like the reason why I'm saying this is because I remember like there was a family member of mine who had dandruff, and there was another. And there was another person as well where they were living together. And so this girl had dandruff, and I think the other girl, I just don't want to mention names, basically. The other girl felt a bit some type of way because the girl with the dandruff kept on using the girl without dandruff hair comb, and
Okay.
she was not happy, and she kept saying that, oh, she's not happy because, you know, she's also gonna end up with
Get
dandruff.
dandruff.
Yes. And just want to put out there, yes, dandruff is not contagious. Some people say it is contagious. It's not. Yes, it is caused by this yeast here, but this yeast does reside in everybody's scalp, but the only time it causes dandruff is when there's an overgrowth of it. So
Overgrowth, yes.
yeah, so you're not gonna catch dandruff from someone else, basically.
From using
Yeah.
products like that as well. If you think about it, on the comb, it's just the flakes.
It's just
the
the
dead
flakes.
cells.
Exactly.
They're dead cells.
Exactly.
They're gone. They're not alive.
Yes, basically. Yeah. So I think that's like the misconception out there. Some people think, oh, you're gonna get it. I think it just looks a bit weird when people see it, like, you know.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that, you know, you're gonna catch it or anything. Yeah, it's not contagious. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. No, I'm glad you've said that, because I mean,
Yes.
I can see why people would say that, because when you always associate something not so good or not something embarrassing with it being, I don't want to catch that, you know. So
exactly.
no, I'm glad you've mentioned that.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have any myths?
I think just again growing up, again not me, but it could be me. There used to be this like just kids saying, oh, like if say this, they did see a child, like one of the other kids with like dandruff on like their either their cardigans or like their blazers or whatever, they're like, oh, you're so dirty, don't wash up, kind of thing. So there was that association of dandruff with being dirty. But as we said, it's not necessarily that. I mean, poor hygiene can actually cause dandruff or excessive dandruff, but it could also just be maybe genetic. You know,
exactly.
Genetically, you're predisposed to having more dandruff than maybe someone else. So it's not necessarily because you're dirty, but you know, having good hygiene actually helps in this case. And also just going through, because I could see why maybe kids were being like that, because it's almost like if you know that there is a condition, this is a condition, something is wrong, you should really be seeing the doctor, you know. So sometimes I think we just dismiss some of these things, like, oh, it's fine, you know, it will just go on its own with time, you know. But sometimes, you know, it's worth seeing the doctors, and you can't get treatment for this. So it's not necessarily because someone is dirty, but poor hygiene can actually worsen or even increase the likelihood of dandruff. So I think that is a myth, or maybe just a misunderstanding or confusion as to what dandruff is or what causes dandruff.
Yes, brilliant. Yeah. I feel like some of the myths we've already touched them, so I didn't. Unless you've got some, like, because the ones I have here, I feel like honestly, that was the only one. I feel like we've already touched on them, so there's no point like repeating it. Yeah.
So what is your take home, Steph?
Yep. So to wrap up here, here are the key takeaways from this episode. Dandruff is a very common condition. And as we said, it's not just a sign of poor hygiene. There are different causes to it. As we mentioned, it is caused by fungus, by oil buildup, and skin shedding, and not just dryness. Yes. Do watch what causes your dandruff, what triggers it. If it is stress, please reduce the stress. If it is products that you use, and please avoid it. But all in all, dandruff can be cured, it can be treated. So
Yeah.
do not be embarrassed about it. There are some home remedies which we have mentioned, so please do check it out. Some coconut oil, some shea butter here and there. So,
Yes.
yes, we are a fan of home remedies, yes. But if you are someone where home remedies are not working for you, we do have
Yeah.
alternatives which do include medicated shampoos, but scalp care and a healthy diet, as we mentioned, all can help control dandruff. And if your dandruff is severe, itchy, or not improving, please see a dermatologist. What is your
That's
take
it.
home message, Trudy?
Well, so dandruff, as we've said, can actually be an embarrassing and frustrating condition to deal with, but it's not a serious condition, as we've said. And with the right treatment and lifestyle, you can actually tackle dandruff, and you can keep your scalp healthy and flake free. Now, what we have said today is there's no one size fits all solution for dandruff. We've
Mm-hmm.
mentioned some home remedies and even over the counter treatments that can provide relief for many people. However, what I would say is if your symptoms persist despite treatment, it's important to consult a doctor or a dermatologist for further evaluation, because they will help determine the underlying cause of your dandruff and recommend a more targeted treatment plan. So dandruff is not necessarily something that you can just say you have dandruff, this is the treatment for you. There could be reasons why you're having dandruff, and until you tackle these causes, you might still be fighting dandruff, you might still be getting dandruff, and it's something, as we said, that is treatable, it's something that is easily managed, and it shouldn't be embarrassing. If you suffer from dandruff, we are here for you. Come into the pharmacy, let's have these conversations, let's figure out what kind of dandruff you have. We might share with you some home remedies, or we might just give you some over-the-counter treatment.
Yes.
And I hope
And
you can share this episode with someone, maybe someone who has dandruff. So if you have a family member who has dandruff, or if you notice a friend who comes to work and their blazer is a little bit flaky, you can always share this episode with them, and it might just help them.
thank you for tuning in today. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember, a healthy chat is a step towards a healthy life.
If you have any topics you'd like us to discuss, drop us an email at consultationroompod@gmail.com. Our Instagram is @consultationroompod. See you next week. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay blessed.